The big spaceship Hess Thunderbolt moved slowly through the dark space. It was huge, like a floating city. The ship was gray and had many lights on it. Big guns stuck out from its sides. This was one of the best ships humans had ever made. Captain Jae-hoon Kim stood on the bridge. He was a tall man with short black hair. His uniform was dark blue with shiny buttons. He looked out the big window at the stars. Everything was quiet. Another boring day, he thought. But he was wrong. Today would change everything. Jae-hoon walked around the bridge. He checked on his crew. They all worked at their stations, looking at screens and pressing buttons. Soo-yeon Park sat at her station. She was the person who talked to other ships. Her job was to understand different languages. She had long hair tied back and wore glasses. Right now, she was reading a book about alien words. Tae-won-lee was in the engine room. He made sure the ship's engines worked well. Tae-won was short and always had oil on his hands. He loved the big engines. To him, they were like music. Suddenly, a loud noise filled the bridge. It was an alarm. "Captain!" shouted Min-ji Choi. She was in charge of the ship's science stuff. "I see something strange on the screens." Jae-hoon ran to her station. He looked at her screen. There were many dots on it. The dots were moving. "What is it?" he asked. Min-ji pushed her glasses up. "I think it's ships, many ships. But they're not ours." Jae-hoon felt his heart beat faster. This was big news. No one had ever seen alien ships before. "Sung-min," Jae-hoon called. "Get our guns ready, just in case." Sung-min Kang nodded. He was in charge of the weapons. His fingers flew over his controls, getting the big guns ready. "Soo-yeon," said Jae-hoon. "Try to talk to them. Use all the languages we know." Soo-yeon nodded. She started sending messages in many languages. Everyone waited. The bridge was quiet. Only the beeping of machines could be heard. Everyone held their breath. Then the big screen in front of them lit up. An alien face appeared. The alien looked strange. It had blue skin and big eyes. 4 arms moved in front of it. It opened its mouth and made weird sounds. "I can't understand it," said Soo-yeon. She looked worried. "The computer doesn't know this language." Jae-hoon stepped forward. He waved at the screen. The alien stopped talking. It looked at Jae-hoon with its big eyes. Jae-hoon pointed to himself. "Human," he said slowly. Then he pointed at the screen. "You?" The alien seemed to understand. It pointed at itself with 2 hands. "Tsar," it said. "Well," said Jae-hoon. "At least we know what to call them now." More alien ships appeared on the screens. They were getting closer. The Tsar on the screen started making loud noises. It waved its arms around. "I don't think it's happy," said Tae-won. He had come up from the engine room to see what was happening. Jae-hoon frowned. This was not going well. The aliens might attack. He had to do something. "Sung-min," he said. "Show them our guns. Don't fire. Just let them see how strong we are." Sung-min pressed some buttons. Outside, the ship's big guns moved. They pointed at the alien ships. The Tsar on the screen stopped shouting. Its eyes got even bigger. It looked scared. "I think they get the message," said Jae-hoon. He smiled a little. Humans might be new to space, but they were strong. The alien ships stopped moving. They just floated in space, not coming closer. "What do we do now, Captain?" asked Soo-yeon. Jae-hoon looked at the alien on the screen. Then he looked at his crew. This was a big moment for all humans. They had to be careful. "Now," he said, "we try to make friends." The HSS Thunderbolt floated in space. In front of it were many alien ships. They looked like big blue fish. The aliens inside were called Tsar. Captain Jae-hoon Kim stood on the bridge. He looked at the big screen. The Tsar was still there, watching them. "Soo-yeon," said Jae-hoon, "keep trying to talk to them." Soo-yeon Park nodded. She worked hard at her station. Her computer made strange noises as it tried to learn the Tsar language. "Captain," said Minji Choi, "I have more information about the Tsar ships." Jae-hoon walked to her station. "Tell me," he said. Minji pointed at her screen. "Their ships are not as strong as ours, but they have better engines. They can move very fast." Jae-hoon thought about this. It was good to know. If the Tsar tried to run away, the thunderbolt might not catch them. Suddenly, Su-yeon shouted, "I did it. I can talk to them now." Everyone looked at her. Su-yeon's face was red from excitement. Her glasses were crooked on her nose. "Good job," said Jae-hoon. He smiled at her. "What do they say?" Su-yeon listened to her computer. Then she spoke. "They say they come in peace. They want to know who we are and why we're here." Jae-hoon nodded. This was good news. He stepped in front of the big screen. "Tell them we are humans," he said. "We come from a planet called Earth. We are exploring space." Su-yeon spoke into her computer. The Tsar on the screen listened. Then it made noises back. "They say they've never heard of humans before," said Su-yeon. "They want to know more about us." For the next hour, Jae-hoon and the Tsar talked. They shared information about their people. The Tsar were surprised that humans were so new to space travel. "Ask them why they have so many ships here," said Jae-hoon. Su-yeon asked the question. The Tsar's answer made her face go white. "What is it?" asked Jae-hoon. Su-yeon looked scared. "They say they're running away from something. Something very bad." Just then, Sung Min Kang shouted from his station, "Captain, the Tsar ships are moving." Jae-hoon looked at the screen. The Tsar ships were getting closer to the Thunderbolt. "What are they doing?" he asked. The Tsar on the screen started making loud noises. It waved its 4 arms around. "It's saying something about protection," said Su-yeon. She looked confused. I think they want us to protect them." Jae-hoon frowned. This was not what he expected. Protect them from what? Before Su-yeon could ask, a new alarm sounded. It was louder than before. "Captain," shouted Minji. "More ships are coming, but they're not Tsar ships. They're something else." Jae-hoon ran to the front of the bridge. He looked out the big window. In the distance, he saw lights. They were getting bigger. "Sungmin, get our guns ready," said Jae-hoon. "Taiwan, I need full power to the engines and shields." Taiwan's voice came over the speaker. "Yes, sir. The engines are hot and ready." The new ships got closer. They were big and black. They looked like angry insects. "The Tsar are very scared," said Su-yeon. "They keep asking for our help." Jae-hoon thought hard. He didn't know these new aliens, but the Tsar seemed afraid of them. He had to make a choice. "Su-yeon, tell the Tsar to get behind us," he said. "We'll protect them." Su-yeon nodded and spoke to the Tsar. The blue ships started to move. They went behind the Thunderbolt. The black ships came closer. They were almost as big as the Thunderbolt. "Sir," said Sungmin, "the new ships have their weapons ready. I think they might attack." Jae-hoon took a deep breath. This was not how he thought first contact would go, but he was ready. "Send a message to the new ships," he said to Su-yeon. "Tell them this. We are humans from Earth. We mean no harm, but we will defend ourselves and the Tsar if we have to." Su-yeon sent the message. Everyone on the bridge waited. The black ships got closer and closer. Then one of the black ships fired a shot. It missed the Thunderbolt, but only by a little. Jae-hoon's eyes got hard. "Okay," he said. "They want to fight. Let's show them what humans can do." The black ships were getting closer. They looked mean and scary. Captain Jae-hoon Kim stood tall on the bridge of the HSS Thunderbolt. He was not afraid. "Sungmin," he said, "show them what our guns can do." Sung Min Kang nodded. His hands moved fast over his controls. Outside, the Thunderbolt's big guns turned. They pointed at the black ships. Fire a warning shot, said Jaehoon. Don't hit them. Just show them we're strong. Some men pressed a button. A bright light shot out from the thunderbolt. It went right between two of the black ships. The light was so bright that everyone had to close their eyes for a second. When they opened their eyes, they saw something amazing. Where the light had gone, there was now a big hole in space. Stars that were behind it looked bent and strange. What was that? Asked Su-Yan Park. Her eyes were wide behind her glasses. Tae-Won Lee's voice came over the speaker. That was our new space-bender gun, he said. He sounded proud. It bends space for a short time. Pretty cool, right? The black ships stopped moving. They seemed surprised by the Thunderbolt's power. On the screen, the Tsar alien was making excited noises. Its 4 arms were waving around. What's it saying? Asked Jaehoon. Su-Yun listened to her computer. Then she smiled. The Tsar are amazed, she said. They've never seen anything like our space-bender gun before. Jaehoon nodded. He was happy the Tsar were impressed, but he was more worried about the black ships. Any response from them? He asked. Min Ji-choi checked her screens. No, Captain, she said. They're just sitting there. I think they're talking to each other. Jaehoon thought for a moment. Then he had an idea. Su-Yen, he said, tell the black ships this. We don't want to fight. But if they attack us or the Tsar, we will use all our power to stop them. Su-Yen sent the message. Everyone on the bridge waited. The black ships didn't move. Then something happened. The black ships started to turn around. They were leaving. They're going away, said Minji. She sounded surprised and happy. Everyone on the bridge started to cheer. They had won without a big fight. Jaehoon smiled, but he stayed calm. Good job, everyone, he said. But stay alert. They might come back. The Tsar on the screen was making happy noises now. It bowed its head to Jaehoon. The Tsar are very thankful, said Su-Yun. They say we saved them from the Dark Ones. That's what they call the black ships. Jaehoon nodded. He was glad they could help the Tsar, but he had many questions. Ask them why the Dark Ones were chasing them, he said to Su-Yun. Su-Yun talked to the Tsar. The alien made sad noises as it answered. The Tsar say the Dark Ones attack everyone they meet, said Su-Yun. They take over planets and make people work for them. The Tsar were running away from their home because the Dark Ones came. Jaehoon frowned. This was bad news. If the Dark Ones were so mean, they might attack Earth one day. We need to know more, he said. Ask the Tsar if they will come on our ship. We need to talk more about these Dark Ones. Su-Yun sent the message. The Tsar agreed right away. They were happy to help the humans who saved them. Some men, Minji, said Jaehoon, get a room ready for our new friends. Taiwan, come up from the engine room. I want everyone to meet the Tsar. As everyone got ready, Jaehoon looked out at the stars. He thought about Earth, so far away. He thought about the Dark Ones and how strong they were. We'll be ready, he said quietly. If they come to Earth, they'll learn that humans are stronger than they look. The Thunderbolt's engines hummed. The ship moved towards the Tsar ships. Soon, humans and aliens would meet face to face for the first time. Jaehoon stood straight and proud. He was ready to make history. Commander Raoul stood on the bridge of his ship. He was a Tsar with blue skin and 4 arms. His big eyes blinked as he watched the screen in front of him. On the screen was the human ship, the HS Thunderbolt. It was bigger than any Tsar ship. Raoul felt both scared and amazed. It's so big, said his second-in-command, Vix. How can they build something like that? Raoul shook his head. He didn't know. The humans were full of surprises. Just a short time ago, Raoul and his people were running away from the Dark Ones. They thought they would lose everything. Then the humans appeared. Raoul remembered how the human ship fired its strange weapon. It made a hole in space. He had never seen anything like it. The humans saved us, Ral said. We owe them much. The other Tsar on the bridge nodded. They all felt thankful. A light on Ral's control panel started to blink. The humans were calling. Commander, said the human captain on the screen. His name was Jaehoon. We're ready for you to come aboard our ship. Ral felt nervous. No Tsar had ever been on a human ship before, but he was also excited. We are ready, Ral said in his best human words. Thank you for having us. Ral picked 4 other Tsar to go with him. They got into a small ship and flew towards the Thunderbolt. As they got closer, Ral could see how big the human ship really was. It was like a floating city in space. Look at the guns, said one of the Tsar. They're huge. Ral nodded. The human weapons were very strong. He was glad the humans were friendly. Their small ship entered the Thunderbolt through a big door. When the door closed, the room filled with air. The Tsar stepped out of their ship. They looked around with wide eyes. The room was very big. It could hold many ships. Humans in different colored clothes were walking around, doing their jobs. A group of humans walked up to the Tsar. Ral recognized the captain, Jaehoon. Welcome aboard the Thunderbolt, said Jaehoon. He smiled and held out his hand. Ral knew this was how humans said hello. He reached out with one of his hands and shook Jaehoon's hand. Thank you for saving us, Ral said. We are happy to be here. Jaehoon introduced the other humans. There was Su-yeon, who could speak many languages. Taiwan, who took care of the ship's engines. Minji, who knew about science. And Sungmin, who controlled the weapons. Please, come with us, said Jaehoon. We have many questions for you. The Tsar followed the humans. They walked through long hallways. Everything was clean and shiny. They came to a big room with a long table. The humans and Tsar sat down. First, said Jaehoon, we want to know more about the Dark Ones. Why are they attacking everyone? Rel's face got sad. He didn't like to think about the Dark Ones. The Dark Ones want to rule everything, Rel said. They think they are better than everyone else. They take over planets and make people work for them. The humans looked worried. Ral understood why. The Dark Ones were very dangerous. How long have they been doing this? Asked Minji. For many, many years, said Ral. They have taken over many worlds. We Tsar are some of the few who got away. Jaehoon leaned forward. How did you escape? Ral felt proud as he answered. We Tsar are very good at moving fast. Our ships are the fastest anyone has ever seen. We ran away before they could catch us. The humans looked impressed. Taiwan, the engine man, looked very interested. Could you tell us more about your fast ships? Taiwan asked. Ral nodded. He was happy to share what he knew. Maybe the humans and Tsar could learn from each other. As they talked, Ral felt hope growing inside him. The humans were strong and smart. With their help, maybe the Tsar could fight back against the Dark Ones. For the first time in a long time, Ral felt that the future might be bright. Captain Jaehoon Kim sat at the big table. Around him were his crew and the Tsar aliens. They had been talking for hours. There was so much to learn. So, Commander Ral, Jaehoon said, your people need a new home. Ral nodded his blue head. His big eyes looked sad. Yes, he said. The Dark Ones took our world. We have been flying through space for a long time. Su-yeon Park, the language expert, looked at her captain. Sir, she said, maybe we could help them find a new planet. Jaehoon thought about this. Humans had found many empty planets that were good for living. Maybe the Tsar could use one of them. That's a good idea, he said. He turned to Ral. We know some planets that no one lives on. Would you like to see them? Ral's eyes got wide. All 4 of his arms moved in excitement. Really? You would do that for us? Jaehoon smiled. Of course. We want to be friends. Friends help each other. The other Tsar started talking happily. They had been worried for so long. Now they had hope. Min Ji Choi, the science officer, spoke up. "Captain," she said, "I've been thinking. The Tsar know a lot about the Dark Ones. Maybe we can learn from them. It could help us protect Earth." Jaehoon nodded. It was a smart idea. He looked at Raoul. "Would you be willing to share what you know about the Dark Ones? It would help us a lot." Raoul stood up. He put all four of his hands on the table. "We will tell you everything," he said. "You saved us. Now we want to help you." For the next hour, Raoul and the other Tsar told the humans about the Dark Ones. They talked about the Dark Ones' ships, their weapons, and how they fight. Sung Min Kang, who was in charge of weapons, listened carefully. He asked many questions. The more he learned, the more he smiled. "Captain," Sung Min said, "I think we can beat them. Our weapons are different from what the Dark Ones know. They won't be ready for us." Taiwan Li, the engine expert, had been talking with one of the Tsar about their fast ships. Now he looked excited. "Sir," Taiwan said to Jaehoon, "the Tsar engines are amazing. If we put them together with our engines, we could make super-fast ships." Jaehoon felt proud of his crew. They were already thinking of ways to work with the Tsar. He stood up and looked at everyone. "This is a big day," he said. "Humans and Tsar, working together. We can learn from each other. We can help each other." Raoul stood up too. He held out one of his hands to Jaehoon. "Friends?" he asked. Jaehoon shook Raoul's hand. "Friends," he said. Just then, a loud alarm started to ring. Red lights flashed in the room. Minji ran to a computer screen. Her face looked worried. "Captain," she shouted, "more ships are coming. It's the Dark Ones. They found us." Everyone in the room got quiet. The happy feeling was gone. Now they were scared. Jaehoon took a deep breath. He had to be strong for his crew and for the Tsar. "Okay," he said. "This is what we've been getting ready for. Sungmin, get to the weapons. Taiwan, I need full power to the engines. Minji, watch those ships. Suyen, stay with the Tsar." He turned to Raoul. "Commander, get your people ready. We might have to fight." Raoul nodded. He looked scared, but also brave. "We will fight with you," he said. As everyone ran to their jobs, Jaehoon looked out a window. He could see the Dark One's ships coming closer. They were big and black, like angry space monsters. Jaehoon felt scared too, but he also felt something else. He felt ready. "Come on, Dark Ones," he said quietly. "Let's see what you've got. Humans and Tsar are waiting for you." The Thunderbolt's engines started to hum. The big guns moved into place. The fight was about to begin. The bridge of the HSS Thunderbolt was busy. Everyone was getting ready for the fight. Captain Jaehoon Kim stood in the middle, watching everything. "How many Dark One ships are there?" he asked. Minji Choi looked at her screen. 10 big ships, Captain," she said. "And many small ones." Jaehoon nodded. It was a lot of ships, but he wasn't scared. "Sungmin," he said, "are our weapons ready?" Sung Min Kang smiled. "Yes, sir. The Space Bender gun is hot, and we have many other surprises for them." Just then, Commander Raoul of the Tsar came onto the bridge. He looked worried. "Captain Jaehoon," Raoul said, "my ships are ready to help, but we are not strong fighters. What should we do?" Jaehoon thought for a moment. Then he had an idea. "Your ships are very fast, right?" he asked. Raoul nodded. "The fastest in the galaxy," he said proudly. Jaehoon smiled. "Good. I have a plan. Your fast ships can confuse the Dark Ones. Fly around them very fast. Make them dizzy. We'll hit them with our big guns while they're confused." Raoul's eyes got wide. He understood the plan. "Yes," he said. "We can do that." Jaehoon turned to his crew. "Okay, everyone. Let's show these Dark Ones what humans and Tsar can do together." The Dark One ships were getting closer. They were big and scary. But the Thunderbolt was ready. Todd 1. Jae-hoon called to the engine room. Give us full power. The Thunderbolt's engines roared. The ship moved forward fast. The Tsar ships flew out from behind the Thunderbolt. They zoomed towards the Dark Ones. They were so fast. They flew circles around the big black ships. The Dark Ones tried to shoot the Tsar ships, but they were too fast. They couldn't hit them. Now, some men, Jae-hoon shouted, fire the Spacebender gun. A bright light shot out from the Thunderbolt. It hit one of the big Dark One ships. The ship started to bend and twist. Then it disappeared. Everyone on the bridge cheered. But there were still more Dark One ships. The fight went on for a long time. The Tsar ships kept flying fast. The Thunderbolt kept shooting. More and more Dark One ships disappeared. Finally, there was only one big Dark One ship left. It started to turn around. It was running away. Should we chase it? Soo-yeon asked. Jae-hoon shook his head. No, he said. Let it go. It will tell the other Dark Ones about us. They'll learn not to attack humans or Tsar again. Everyone on the bridge was happy. They had won. Humans and Tsar together had beaten the Dark Ones. Commander Raoul came to Jae-hoon. He held out all four of his hands. Jae-hoon shook them all. Thank you, Captain, Raoul said. You have saved us again. How can we ever thank you? Jae-hoon smiled. By being our friends, he said. Humans and Tsar should work together. We can do great things. Raoul nodded. Yes, he said. Together, we can keep the galaxy safe from the Dark Ones. Jae-hoon turned to his crew. Min-ji, he said, send a message to Earth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we've made new friends. Min-ji started to send the message. Jae-hoon looked out at the stars. He thought about how big the galaxy was. There were probably many other aliens out there. Some might be friendly, like the Tsar, he thought. Some might be mean, like the Dark Ones. But now we know we can handle both. He turned back to Raoul. Commander, he said, would you like to come to Earth? I think our leaders would like to meet you. Raoul's eyes got big and happy. Yes, he said. We would be honored. As the Thunderbolt and the Tsar ships started to fly towards Earth, Jae-hoon felt proud. Humans had made their first alien friends. They had fought their first space battle. And they had won. The galaxy better watch out, Jae-hoon thought. Humans are here, and we're ready for anything. The HS Thunderbolt flew through space, heading to Earth. The Tsar ships followed close behind. Everyone was happy after beating the Dark Ones. Captain Jae-hoon Kim sat in his chair on the bridge. He was thinking about all the things that had happened. Humans had met aliens, made friends, and won a big fight. It was an exciting time. Suddenly, alarms started to ring. Red lights flashed all over the ship. What's happening? Jae-hoon asked, jumping up from his chair. Min-ji Choi looked at her screens. Her face went white. Captain, she said, there's something big coming. Really big. Everyone on the bridge looked out the front window. Far away, they saw something that made their hearts stop. It was a ship, but it was bigger than anything they had ever seen. It was as big as a planet. Is it the Dark Ones? Soo-yeon Park asked. Her voice was shaking. Commander Raoul of the Tsar appeared on the big screen. He looked very scared. No, he said. It's not the Dark Ones. It's something worse. We've heard stories about them. They're called the World Eaters. Jae-hoon felt his stomach turn. World Eaters didn't sound good. What do they do? He asked. Raoul's big eyes were full of fear. They eat planets, he said. They turn whole worlds into energy for their ship. No one has ever beaten them. The bridge was quiet. Everyone was scared. Even Jae-hoon didn't know what to do. Then Taiwan Lee's voice came from the engine room. Captain, he said, I have an idea. Remember how we were talking about mixing our engines with the Tsar engines? Jae-hoon nodded. Yes, What about it? Tae-won sounded excited. Well, I think we can do it. If we connect our ship to the Tsar ships, we can make one super fast, super strong ship. Jae-hoon looked at his crew. They all nodded. It was a crazy idea, but it might work. Okay, Jae-hoon said. Let's do it. Ral, bring your ships in close. We're going to join together. For the next hour, humans and Tsar worked hard. They connected their ships with big metal arms. The Thunderbolt was in the middle, with Tsar ships all around it like a star. Sung Min Kang worked on the weapons. He found a way to make the Spacebender gun even stronger by using Tsar technology. Finally, everything was ready. The new ship looked strange, but it was powerful. What should we call it? Soo-yeon asked. Jae-hoon thought for a moment. Let's call it the Star Alliance, he said. Everyone liked the name. The World Eater ship was getting closer. It was so big that it covered all the stars they could see. Are we ready? Jae-hoon asked. Ready, everyone said, both humans and Tsar. Jae-hoon took a deep breath. Okay, Star Alliance, he said. Let's go save the galaxy. The Star Alliance flew towards the World Eater. It moved faster than any ship ever had before. The World Eater tried to shoot at them, but the Star Alliance was too fast. Fire the Spacebender gun, Jae-hoon shouted. A huge beam of light shot out from the Star Alliance. It hit the World Eater right in the middle. The giant ship started to bend and twist. Again, Jae-hoon yelled. They fired again and again. Each time, the World Eater bent more and more. Finally, with a flash of light brighter than a star, the World Eater disappeared. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then everyone started to cheer. Humans and Tsar were hugging each other. They had done it. They had beaten the World Eaters. Jae-hoon smiled. He looked around at his human crew and his new Tsar friends. We did this together, he said. Humans and Tsar. We're stronger together than we ever were apart. Ral nodded. Yes, he said. And now the galaxy will know. Don't mess with humans and Tsar. As the Star Alliance turned towards Earth, Jae-hoon thought about the future. There would be more adventures, more aliens to meet, maybe more battles to fight. But he wasn't worried. Together, he thought, we can do anything. The Star Alliance flew through space, carrying the hope of two species and the promise of a new, united galaxy.